Alright, we're here with Big Red, or Clifford as my children call it. This is a 2003 2500 HD. It has an iron block 6-liter in it with flat top pistons, 823 heads, JFR custom cam in it. I believe it's 80-pound. I think this one has the 80-pound Decas in it. Has a T6 Faller speed log, it's an off-brand BorgWarner, BorgWarner S475, I believe. It has a billet wheel on it. It's a loose 132 AR housing, has full 4-inch exhaust. This is the one that has the Duramax intercooler in it. And it's a 410 truck, 2-wheel drive. And it's been together for a while. I've towed with it. It does well, but the problem is, I'll show you in just a second, is the converter that I had for it was one that I had laying around. This whole truck was built out of stuff I had laying around, so, like I said, I just used what I had. The JFR cam was spec'd for my LTD, but it does super good in this truck. It's not a very big cam. I think it's 220s, 230s duration, around right at 600, 595 lift on a 110 or 112. I think it's a 110, but it didn't do that well on the LTD in my opinion. He's a truck guy, so that's why I put it in this truck, and it did really well. This truck would absolutely fly. I mean, it was scary how fast this truck would get up to speed with this big of a truck. I don't know what it weighs. I haven't had it on the scales or anything, but it's a LT crew cab, short bed, 2500, 2-wheel drive truck. And so this is a transmission I built for it a while back. I've had this transmission a long time. It's only been in Big Red for probably a year. And actually when I did it was when I was first building the shop, and I did it when it was on the floor right here. And and I had built the transmission a while back. It sat, and then I actually bought it for my white 05 crew cab 1500 that had a 5.3 with a Precision 7675 and a 4L60 in it, and I ran an FTI converter in it, 3000 or 3200 stall. And I had this as a backup for in case that 60 failed. But that 60 never failed on me. I towed with it and ran it for 2 years and never had a lick of trouble out of that 60. That truck actually towed this truck home from South Georgia. It was a 2-hour drive, and that 1500 pulled that truck. 80 was a bit sketchy. About 75 mile an hour was about, where I felt comfortable. But I towed it in overdrive with tow haul mode for 2 hours with that truck and never had a lick of trouble with it. No issues whatsoever. So this just sat there, built, and then when I got rid of that truck and got this truck, it had whatever transmission was in it, the 80 that was in it. I pulled the pan on it, just checking things out on it, and the pan looked perfect. I mean, that was the cleanest transmission pan I had ever used or taken off. One from a vehicle in service, pulled the pan, and it looked spotless. I barely had to wipe it. Put a new filter in it, put fresh fluid in it. Went and drove it. This was before it had the turbo in it, and we were trying to dial it in on the street, just playing around with it until I did the turbo, and it did something funny on the 1-2 shift. So I was like, you know what, I got this one built. I'll go ahead and pull it out and put it in preparation for the turbo. But this is a single disc billet PTC converter, again, that was spec'd for the LTD, which was, a 3,400 pound car. It had a 6.2 in it with a billet S480 on it. And, this thing always felt super, super tight in that car. Just, trying to get up on the converter and everything, like this thing just would not come up on the converter. And this truck, I mean, this thing would flash like crazy. Also had a lot of problems with trans temp. As you can probably tell from the face of the converter and all this powder coating coming off. So it has a F550 diesel converter on it. You can see it's got the deep pan on it that holds an extra gallon of fluid and has the cooling fins in it. And it, I shouldn't have been towing with it, I know, but again, it's what I had laying around. It was together, it was working. When I towed the Nova home with this truck, and probably did a few things I shouldn't have done while towing. That's when it melted the reference line to the wastegate, towing his car home. Then when we went to tow the black 1500 home I didn't know that it had melted the reference line, and I stood on it going up a hill, and that's when I bent 2 rods, the number 7 and number 8 rods in that motor. So I pulled the heads off, pulled it down, dropped the pan on it, put 2 new rods in it, got it all back together, got it running, drove it to town, put fuel in it, fresh tank of premium. When I was on the way home, I heard this. So I was like, well, crap. And I said, well, it's time to go ahead and get, a good converter for this thing. If I'm gonna be towing with it, I can't have this loose converter. So I called up the guys at Yank. That's who Jarrett typically uses, the guy that did the camshaft. So they spec'd me this thing, which this is pretty heavy. It's I don't know if you can see it in there. So it's a 2200 stall, but it's full size. It's 13 inch, I guess. The guy told me that for what I'm doing, this application, that's what he recommended it. That's what the diesel guys run. Unfortunately, it's only a 2200 stall. I certainly would like to be a lot higher stall than that, but probably gonna really kill it. But I can't have the trans temps way up there and everything. This is a single disc billet. This is a triple disc billet. So I mean, this is supposed to be a really, really, really nice converter for what I paid for it. I paid more for this than I did for the truck, so it ought to be a good converter. So I'm gonna dig into this thing and try to figure out what that noise is. This transmission, all I did to it when I built it was freshen it up with Alto clutches. I did the dual feed mod on the 3rd gear. It's got the HD2 kit in it. It's got a 300M billet input shaft on it, and the deep pan. And I loved how it shifted. This transmission shifted super, super well. I was really happy with this transmission until the converter did that. But you know, like I say, I know that was my fault. You know, I shouldn't have been towing with this thing, because it would flash hard on that converter, boy. I mean, this truck ran super, super good with that thing. I wish I had a draggy run with this setup, but I'll try to get one with the new converter. Last night, got the black truck going, the black turbo truck. Got everything finished up on it, drove it down the road. It worked and everything, so got up at 4:30 this morning, got out here and just got this transmission out. So now I'm gonna start digging into this and trying to figure out what's wrong with it and try to get this thing back together. Once this one's back together, this transmission with the yank converter, that goes back in this truck. And then I've got that two-wheel drive 80 is the one that came out of this truck. So I'm gonna do the same thing I did to that one as I did to the one in the black truck. I've got the Alto kit and the HD2 kit, and I was gonna use this converter, but it doesn't sound like I'm gonna be able to use it. I guess I could send it back to PTC and wait 3 years on them to get it back or whatever, if they can fix it or whatever. But I don't know, it sounds like the converter to me. When I had it running, I had a guy come over and look at that 4L60 that was eating my lunch in the Tahoe, and he said it sounded like something in the overdrive portion of it, which, you know, is the front part. So hopefully it's nothing major. I'm not holding my breath, but I'll let you know.